Hey everybody, it's Heidi. Welcome back, or welcome to my channel if you're new. Today's video is going to be my completed colorings for the month of February 2023. And before I start, I just want to say thanks so much to everyone who has been watching my videos lately and liking, subscribing. There are some new subscribers, thank you so much. And for people who have taken the time to comment, really appreciate it, especially coming back after such a long time. It feels good to know that people are still watching, so thanks for that. So let's just get going. The first one I have is in A Million Sweet Things, which is the same book as A Million Kawaii Cuties, which is something I didn't know until I bought them, and then realized that this one is the UK version and this one is the American version. So I decided to devote this one to my more experimental things, which, I don't know, I don't really get that experimental in nice books. I don't want to ruin pages and stuff, but this was somewhat experimental, so I used this copy. So I did this page, bring it up a little bit so you can see a little bit better. This page was inspired by, or I was inspired to do this kind of thing by A Cluttered Life, and she has one video that talks about all the different ways she uses water-based markers in her books, and she has a lot of different ways, and I've been kind of, I wouldn't say obsessed, but really interested in that video, and I've watched it a couple times and made notes. So I used, what did I use? Here's my list. I used Crayola Super Tips for the base, or pretty much for everything. And I did like line work. She does a lot of like scribbling with water-based markers, and I have a hard time, being kind of a neat freak, I have a hard time scribbling, so I just kind of try to do it a little bit more intentionally, with lines and dots, and I don't know if you can see all the dots and stuff. I'll bring it up a little bit. Yeah, so I did a whole bunch of lines and dots and things, and then I used Black Widows as just to do some of the shading, because I felt it needed a little bit more shading. And then it also has, I probably can't see on camera, but the little stars in the background, I used some pearlescent glue pen. I didn't put it directly on, I used a brush and just like went over some of the areas with the pearlescent glue. And I'm really happy with how this page turned out, actually. I really like the effect of it, and it didn't go through the other side at all, which I didn't think it would. Crayola Super Tips are pretty good at not going through. So there is that page. Then the next one is Oceans by R.J. Hampson. And this is a new book to me, pretty new. This is my first page in it. The kitties in their undersea treasure hunting expedition, and it's called Treasure Hunters. And this page I did with polychromos pencils. And you know, this is Amazon paper, so it's not really the best for pencils, but I don't particularly mind the fact that the paper shows through. I kind of like that texture, I like that effect, so it doesn't really bother me. I know that some people don't like it, but yeah, so I didn't try to, you know, really go in there and make the colors super bright. I just kind of left it with my usual light hand, and yeah, I like it. I'm really happy with how these lights came out. I tried to, you know, color around them so they looked like, you know, the lights under the water, and it sort of works, I feel. Let's see, what else? I know I did something else. I tried to do in the background here, I tried to use King Art gel sticks with a brush to try to add some more color, and I found that all it did was take off the pencil that I had laid down, so I had to put more pencil back on top. So that's just a note that if you want to use the King Art gel sticks, do it before you put on the pencil, otherwise the brush is just going to take your pencil off. So I learned the hard way on that one. But yeah, I like this page a lot. I keep wanting to bring the book up because this setup still is new to me, and I feel like you won't be able to see it. I guess you can. So comment if you can't see the details, but I think you probably can. So there's that one. And the next one I have is in 50 Animal Mandalas, color by number by such and such Deva. And I hadn't worked in this one for a while. So I'm noticing, that's weird. I was just noticing some weird marks on the opposite page. I don't know why that's doing that. Huh. That's strange. Anyway, so I did this owl page, and I used Lemouche alcohol markers as a base and Crayola color pencils over the top for some shading. And let's say I sort of followed the numbers that are, or the colors that are suggested. I don't really follow those religiously anymore. I tend to kind of use them as a guide because some of the things they suggest are just really strange. Like this here, the eyebrows or whatever, and around the eyes. And these areas here were supposed to be peach according to the key, and I thought that was just really weird. So I colored it kind of how I wanted to color it. And yeah, I like it. I like how I tried to do some gradations. We can see that there in these flowers. So yeah, fun project. And then this one I'm really excited about. I've got 2 pages in Anamorphia by Curry Rosanis. Both of these in here were inspired by 2 people, Doodle Robot and Color by Maya. And I had seen some videos of theirs recently where they had books that they had bought used that were already colored in a little bit, and they both in their different books have managed to fix it and do something completely different with the page and kind of saved it. So that made me think of this page, or this book, which is the only one in my collection that has colored areas in it, and I've never known what to do with them. I'll show you. So I decided recently to try and save those pages, inspired by the videos that I saw. So this page here I did, and it up here it said, this was one of those pages that was empty except for a few areas, and it said fill the elephant with detailed patterns or something like that. And I don't like having that text there, like over here, doodle more crows. So I decided to cover that up using black Posca. So that's what this is in the background. And so when I got this book, there were just a few areas that were already colored. This blue part here and here, the rose, and this blue part here, and then that line there. And the rest of it was blank. So I decided to kind of go with the colors that they'd already established, and ends up being kind of a primary colors palette. And I used Crayola Super Tips to do, well, first of all, I used pencil to doodle in all the stuff. And I didn't do it like Kirby's way, I did it my own way, sort of how I like to doodle. So yeah, I did that with pencil, and then I went over it with Pitt pen, black Pitt pen, and then I did the Crayola Super Tip color for everything. And I also have some fine liner in here for some of the details, and some of this stuff down here. I used white and black Posca for this part in the background, white Posca for the some of the dots and details. And then I have just a little bit of Castle Art pencils for some shading. Like I used a gray one on the elephant all around just to give it some dimension. But yeah, I really am happy. I'm happy to have this finally colored in and not, you know, just sitting there like a ruined page in the back of my mind. Like I've just never known what to do with these pages. So yay, that is done. And then I also had this double page spread, was already colored in when I bought this book. I meant to take some pictures so I could show you, and I forgot to do that. So when I bought it, this area here was colored just with like straight, it was like straight colored with marker. And then these 3 B's here were colored. And then this whole thing was empty. So it was a little bit of a challenge to try to fix it, because I had to use some really dark shadows, and I used Prismacolor to do that in the flowers to get any kind of depth. But I think it worked, actually. I used a lot of black for the shading. And then I used white Posca to give it some highlights. And then I used Crayola Super Tips to do the bees, kind of how these had been done. And then I just kind of tried to match the colors that were already used there for the bees. And then I didn't know what to do with the background because it's just a lot of white space. So I used some white Posca to cover up the writing here, and you can still kind of see it, which bothers me a little bit, but it's okay. I don't mind it too terribly much. And then I used some Crayola Super Tips and just made little circles all over, if you can see that. That took some time. It was kind of fun and relaxing. Little circles all around. I used 4 different colors, 2 different colors of blue, and then some green and blue for this kind of area here, some purple in this area here, and then gray down here, just to have a little bit of variation. I don't know if you can, if it actually comes across on camera. But yeah, so I feel pretty happy with this. It's done, and now I have no whips, no colored areas in my books, which makes me happy. And the next one that I did was not really a big deal, in Semless Nova by Tomislav Tomic, or Tomic. I just did, so this book I've never colored in up till this point, so I pulled it down, and I was kind of intending to do this page and this page, but I just wasn't really in the mood, and I'm kind of intimidated, to be honest. I just love this book so much that I feel a little bit scared to work in it. That's why I did this. I just did the butterflies over here. And I used Color colored pencils to do that. And took my time with it. I'll bring it up a little bit so you can see a little bit better. But I may go back soon and do this page inspired by these colors, perhaps. I'm not sure. I know I really need to do something in here. I really want to do something in here. It's just that I don't want to screw up anything. So I know I'm not the only one that has that problem. Most of my books I'm not that terrified by, but that book is so beautiful. I just don't want to mess it up. Next one is in Romantic Country by Erie, and this is a new book for me, and I did one page in here. This page, the little girl and her bear in her room, and this one just stood out to me because it's just so sweet, and so I started in on it. I used Prismacolor pencils for this page, and that's it. And yeah, I like it a lot. I didn't really intend on I didn't have a color palette in mind when I started it, but I don't know, it just kind of worked out that way. I don't know if you guys have, if that happens for you too, or if you set out with specific colors. It just kind of developed. So, but yeah, I was happy with how the colors all kind of came together like that in the end. And I think it suits this page a lot. So that was in Romantic Country by Erie. And then the next one is in Daydreams by Hannah Carlson, and I did this page, The Birds and the Key, and I used Color colored pencils for this, Color for the birds, and then I used some sparkly gel pen also in the birds. I don't know if you can, I'll try to get it to show some of the sparkle. I'm not sure if it will. And then I used Crayola color pencils for the background. I just decided to go for a simple background, and I just did this sort of green halo around all the objects. It's kind of one of my usual backgrounds that I go for. And let's see, yeah, so those three things were all I used on this page. And I like how that came out. Next one is in 100 and Magical Patterns by Jade Summer. And I did this page. This was a little bit of an experiment as well. I was kind of inspired by Doodle Robot here again. I saw in one of her videos she did a page with gouache, or was experimenting with some gouache that she had just purchased. So I said to myself, hey, I've got gouache that I haven't used for a while. Let's get that out and see what happens. So I did something in this book, and so far I've been doing kind of experiments with this book because the pages are, the patterns are fairly, the spaces are large, so it's easy to paint in. So I did a base of gesso, clear gesso first, and then I started in on the gouache, and most of it is gouache, except for at some point I got frustrated with it because it wasn't turning out that great, and I used acrylic like for some of these greens around the outside. The gouache, I don't think it was the fault of the gouache. I think it was the particular paints that I have. They're probably not that high quality actually, and when I squeezed a little bit out onto my palette, it had, I think it was, I don't know what it is, the gum arabic, the filler. It's like, it's clear, or like kind of a clear yellow, but when I mix it in with the paint, it does something weird to the paint, so that it turns kind of streaky and blotchy and stuff. If anyone knows what that is, please let me know in the comments. I think it's gum arabic or guar gum, or I don't know what that is. Some filler that they use. So anyway, it turned out okay despite the streaks and stuff. I think it looks better at a distance, so you might not be able to actually see the streaks. Maybe I'll hold it up to show you like what I'm talking about, like how streaky and blotchy that looks in some areas. As a whole, I think it's not bad. And then the white dots are white Posca, and that, I thought that added a lot to it, made it look a lot better. So there was that one. And then another one that I did was in Stained Glass Patterns by Jade Summer, and I did this page with acrylic paints. This was also inspired by Doodle Robot, I guess. I think this was the first one that I did. Yeah, did this one before the one I just showed you. So I did the background with a base of clear gesso, and then I used acrylic paints, and these are just, you know, like the cheap Apple Barrel or folk art paints. Well, they're not, I mean, I don't want to say cheap as in they're not any good. They're good. They're just, you know, like the craft paint that you can get at craft stores, as opposed to like the kind in the tube. And yeah, so they're the same. They have a different text or a different finish. Like this is matte, whereas like the ones that I have in the tube are sort of a gloss finish. I guess that's the difference. So yeah, I had a lot of fun with that. It's really fun to paint for a change, instead of using markers or pencils or something. So I think I might be doing more of that in this book in particular. In some of these Jade Summer books, they have nice big spaces, so you can paint without it being a really difficult job. And then just a few more. So this was a new book for me, Tiny Creatures by Coco Wayo. This book is really cute. This one was, it's kind of everyday objects that become kind of little worlds for all these tiny creatures. So they just kind of do their thing in various everyday objects like that. So I did one page in here, the lipstick and mirror page, with this cute little family of, it looks like jelly beans or something. I don't know what they are. But I used Ohuhu markers as a base and Color pencils for some shading, and I used some white gel pen on for various details. Like, I guess I didn't use much of it, just on the leaves of the plants here and there. I used a little gel pen on the TV screen, and I guess that's it. And then I used a little bit of glitter gel pen on the stars in the room, and I think that's all. But this was a really fun one to do. This book is super cute and fun. Let me just bring it up to show you some of the details a little closer. So yeah, I'm gonna do more on this book soon, I think. Then I have a page from the Lost Ocean Artist Edition by Johanna Basford. And this is a book that it's like heavy cardstock, and you know, it came bound like a book, but I, for some reason, took everything out of the book. Didn't keep the cover, which is stupid of me, and I really wish I hadn't done that in retrospect. But that's the way it is. So I just keep these in a stack on my bookshelf. But so I did this page, and I used my new Graphitints, which I haven't used yet. And I really like, so those are Derwent's, and they're like graphite pencils, but they are water soluble and pretty much act like watercolor pencils. But they're very nice pencils. I like them a lot. So I used that for, you know, all the main everything. And then the background I did with King Art gel sticks. I kept it very light. I don't know if you can even see. It's like really pale blue for the water. I used some white gel pen for the different highlights on the little windows and on the fish. I used some glitter gel pen, like clear glitter gel pen on the little crown. I used some white glaze, what is it? Jelly roll glaze on the little pearl necklace right there. So small, I'm sure you can't even see that. What else did I use? Oh, I used some Black Widow pencils just to give it a little bit deeper shading on some of the areas, like particularly on the shells and, you know, around the edges of the buildings, just places where I felt like it needed more shading. And that's it. So again, I feel like I want to bring it up so you can see a little bit better. Oh yeah, and I used sparkly gel pen on the bubbles too, right here. I don't know if you can see that. So there's another one done in my Lost Ocean Artist Edition. And then the very last thing is really silly. So this book I got for like $1.50 at Michael's recently. It's the Hello Kitty Jumbo Coloring and Activity Book, and this is for very little kids. So this is just for when I feel like I want to color something with my crayons, which is fun for me sometimes. Like, just, it really makes me feel like I'm a kid again. So I just did this page with my Crayola crayons, and it was fun. It was very quick. You know, I mean, all these are, well, I don't know, they're not super simple, fairly simple, but yeah, really cute. I like Hello Kitty, so that was fun. And that is it. So I guess that was pretty fast for a video from me. That was my February 2023 colorings. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you have a good month and enjoy your coloring, enjoy all your creative endeavors, whatever they may be. And take care, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.